He's like a doll. You can pose him in everything. Whoops. Today, I'm going to talk about OSRIC. Now, if you want to play the first edition of Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, you need this book. And if you want to DM it, you need this book and this book. And OSRIC is a retro clone of these three books. You can get it, and it has most of what's in all three books, but when I try to play OSRIC with people or have them use it as a source to play first edition, I repeatedly beat my head up against the small differences between the two systems. Now, cheaper than buying the whole OSRIC is a book that is just the player's handbook for OSRIC. And here it is, and I'm going to review it. So, let's get to it. So, they made OSRIC as a retro clone of first edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons because they wanted to write modules for it, and so they wanted a system they could point to as that this is the system the module's written for. And so that's what we've got. And so they had to change things in order to not violate the copyright. But we have the same stats, but when I tell people to roll in order, the order is different. It's strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. In slightly different order than I'm used to. And the character races, there's dwarfs, not dwarves, but dwarfs. And there's elves, not elves, but elves. And they're pretty much the same races as in Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Gnomes, half-elves, halflings. One difference is there are no sub-races of halflings like First Edition has. In it, most halflings don't have infravision. There's one sub-race that sometimes does, and they have 30-foot infravision, but here halflings have 60-foot infravision. All halflings do. And then there's half-orcs. Now the classes, and humans of course, the classes are not in the order there are in first edition. They're in alphabetical order. So first we have assassin. There we are. And there's it's limited to 15th level, just like first edition. Here's saving throw. You don't get this in first edition. This is in the DM's guide. The saving throws for the class. And the order in which they're in is scrambled. So I can't just look at the chart. I have to read the topics because they're not in the order I'm used to. And then there's this roll to hit armor class thing, which is not the way I'm used to. So if you look at, well, since we're in assassins, we'll look at thieves. If you look at the chart for thieves and assassins, the Y-axis is the armor class, starting with the worst armor class 10 at the bottom and negative 10, the best armor class at the top, with the level of the characters starting on the X-axis at the top of the page there. That's quite a bit different from here, where the armor class is on the X-axis, and it's reverse of the order I would logically think to put it in. And the level is on the Y-axis, and it's also reversed. So, and it's here, it's in the player's handbook, not the DM's guide like it is for first edition. Okay, we got the cleric. Runs up to 24th level. And you've got all the stuff you need, except they didn't put... They put all this DM's guide stuff in here, but they didn't put the turntable here. I don't know why they did that. There's a druid. Just like in first edition, they're capped at 14th level. And let's see, fighter. Here's a great picture. Yeah, she's picturing herself as a warrior in full armor, and he's picturing her as a warrior in bikini armor. I read a great article that explained bikini armor away as being it's magical armor for the upper classes, and the lower classes wear real armor. But in first edition, the steps between the different rolled hits for fighters are, it improves 1 point every 2 levels, and it's 1 point every 2 levels, but here it improves by 1 point every level. So it works out the same, but this makes more sense. Here's the illusionist class with all their DM stuff. And there's a magic user class. And the paladin. Let's see. You know what? It doesn't talk about the Holy Sword here. The error that I've seen in first edition that was repeated in second and third is not at OSRIC. Woohoo! Okay, we have the Ranger class. Yeah, for me, the first edition Ranger class, which was based on Aragorn, is the best one. But it's quite a bit different from all those that started in second edition and beyond. Then we have the equipment list, which is pretty standard. One thing that's different about the weapons is they do list trident and lance and spear, but then they have a broad category of pole arms. They don't have all those different pole arms, which I thought first edition had too many. But this one has too few. There's no Ransor, Septum, or Halberd, which were the 3 that stood out, or Pike. These were the 3 that stood out from the others in first edition, and they're not here. It's one of the things I beat my head against here. Okay, got missile weapons, armor. Let's skip the page here. Yeah, so there's a height and weight table where you can roll random heights and weights for different races. It's optional, but it's there. And then we get into spells. So we got a list of spells for clerics. And here's one for druids. It tells you which spells are which level. And illusionists and magic users. It's pretty much the same spells. Except the spells, when they actually get to list them, they have all the spells thrown into one chunk, and they're in alphabetical order. So you need to know the name of the spell and look it up. And so this means when you're playing, you're flipping back and forth a lot, trying to find your spells. So contrast this with the Player's Handbook of First Edition. If you look, let's use Cleric as a good example. Okay, Cleric. You're playing Cleric, here are the first level spells. So you can just leave the book open here and you know what your spells are. You can quickly find all your spells. Now, this does make it difficult if you know the name of the spell, but you're not sure what class it is or what level it is. But for the player, it's very handy. This requires lots of flipping back and forth. Now there's monster summoning, which when you do it, there's like a whole list of monsters that... in first edition, monster summoning would summon a list, something from a list. You'd roll randomly. So Monster Summoning 1, which was a 3rd level spell, You could summon one of these. A rat, goblin, hobgoblin, kobold, orc, demon, or all the way up to Monster Summoning 7, which is a 9th level spell, which could summon a chimera, a demon, a succubus, a barbed devil, a bone devil, Etten, fire giant, frost giant, hill giant, stone giant, gorgon, hydra, tin-headed, fire lizard, mummy, night hag, ropers, giant slug, or specter. Okay. I just wanted to mention that because it will be important later on in another review. Okay, so then we have a section of how to play. And some people think OSRIC has a better explanation of how to play, especially about things like initiative. But I would still recommend, if you're going to DM, that you need to get hold of the first edition DM's Guide, at least if you're going to do it long term, because it's the best role-playing game book ever written. Okay. So, that is OSRIC. A retro clone of the first edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Now, it's different. Why should you get it? Well, this was not available for a while, so that's one reason you should have gotten it. That's why I pointed people to OSRIC for a while, is because this one was not available. But now it is. You can get it print on demand, but it costs more than this. So OSRIC is slightly cheaper, so that's a reason that you should get it. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this.